Hello everyone. Welcome back here to another live stream. Welcome back here to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage on this Wednesday late evening going into Thursday. We're going to be talking about Hurricane Helene a little bit more and some of the updates that are starting to come through as we go through the late evening hours here. So welcome back. Here is the visible IR. This is the infrared satellite imagery of Helene. And we are currently seeing this system strengthening, not as strong right now as what some of the models were showing, but rapid intensification is still likely overnight tonight and especially into the day on Thursday. So that's what we are seeing as we go into the day on Thursday, rapid intensification of this system. So if you are joining here, make sure to like the live stream, give it a thumbs up down below, subscribe to the channel. We'll keep you ahead of everything that you need to know with this update. Hey, Nikki, thanks for joining. Let's see, make sure everybody hears me right. Hey, Queen. Hey, Brenda, thanks for joining. So yeah, here's the latest on the National Hurricane Center, and this is the experimental cone that they're using for this year. This is actually new. See these blue shaded colors covering the most of the state of Florida, the entire state of Georgia, and South Carolina, and parts of western North Carolina. Those are tropical storm warnings. In the red in southwestern Georgia, far southeastern Alabama, northwest Florida, including the Big Bend area there. Those are hurricane warnings. And notice how we have an M here. This means a major hurricane landfall is still expected tomorrow evening as this makes landfall in the western Big Bend of Florida. This is going to be bringing some extreme life-threatening storm surge. This is also going to be bringing a very heavy rainfall threat as well with some flash flooding, destructive winds as well, and some impacts with tornadoes. I'm going to keep a very close eye on this. Look at this big, you see this big yellow or tan blob down here? That is actually tropical storm force winds, and that's the tropical storm force wind field here. And it covers most of western Cuba, the Grand Cayman Island, the eastern Yucatan, and much of the southeastern Gulf of Mexico right now, and still lingering in the northwest Caribbean. So this is still a pretty large wind field with this system. Right now it is max sustained winds of 85 miles per hour. The movement is north now at 9 miles per hour, so that's what we are seeing currently with this system. And as it tracks to the north, it will still remain a tropical storm as we go into Friday morning, and then as we go into Friday evening, and more so into the weekend as it pushes into Tennessee, into Kentucky, into portions of downstate Illinois. This will become a tropical depression and then a post-tropical cyclone thereafter. So that is what we are currently seeing with the latest update on the cone with this system. Again, if you're just joining, make sure to smash that like button, folks. The more likes, the more people that we do see on here. Again, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're going to have another live stream likely sometime tomorrow. So make sure that you have, click that bell icon and make sure you have all post notifications turned on for any videos and or live streams that we have, not only for this system, but future systems, and also going into the winter months as well. Let's look here at the climatology real quick of the hurricane season, and we are, climbing the ladder downward now, but we are still not even into early October yet, and we still have a lot of the season to go. We still have at least a quarter of the season to go here, so we are still going to be active for the rest of this month, and then likely into October and parts of November as well. Here was the Air Force, the NOAA 2 mission that was earlier on today, low-level recon, and you can see they did get some very low pressure in the 970s range with this system, down to around 973 millibars as it crossed through the center many times here earlier on today. So definitely keeping an eye on that with some of the new data. Obviously, the data that they have is going to be fed right back into the models. Here's one of the models, the HAFS-A parent model, doing a very good job in feeding back that information that they got from the low-level recon plane from NOAA into this model, and you can see that this is down to 973 millibars. This is going to continue to deepen, likely into the 969 range as we go into the 1 a.m. time frame. And then as this continues, it looks like the rapid intensification will start thereafter around sunrise tomorrow. This could be a 952 millibar hurricane. That would equate to a Category 2 already. And then as we go into Thursday afternoon around 1 o'clock, this is 950 millibars. That's getting close to Cat 3 strength. And then you can see as we go into Thursday evening before it makes landfall, this would make landfall as a Category 4 hurricane as we go into Thursday evening, 943 millibars. Other models are a little bit lower with the pressure, down near 920 or even 925 millibars, but right now this model is showing 943 millibars. We look over here at the HAFS B parent model as well. Like this is one, for example, and let me kind of show you this here a little bit more on the screen. Hopefully you can see that. 926 millibars there on this model as it makes landfall again tomorrow evening. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on that. Looking at the H-Wharf parent model, you can see that's actually even stronger than that. That's still down to 919 millibars. So there's still the potential for this to be a pretty high-end Category 4 hurricane. Something to keep a very close eye on here. Let's look at the latest peak storm surge. This has changed actually since earlier on this afternoon when we talked here. Peak storm surge forecast, we could see up to 20-foot storm surge, folks, in parts of the Big Bend of Florida here, particularly the northwestern and central parts of the Big Bend. We could be seeing literally unsurvivable storm surge, folks. This will be up to 20 feet. Think about that. 20 feet. Most of our ceiling heights are 10 to 12 feet. This is 20 feet of storm surge. That's water over normally dry ground. We could be seeing 8 to 12 foot storm surge a little bit further south than that, just north of Tampa Bay. The Bay region, Tampa Bay, could still see up to 8-foot storm surge with this system. So we're continuing to keep a very close eye on that. That number could go up to maybe 6 to 10 feet as we do get closer if the system takes a little bit more of a turn to the right. That is something we're definitely keeping a very close eye on at this point. Yes, I got a beard and a mustache. I am a guy. Yes. Yeah, I saw that earlier. Isaac has formed. I believe that's Tropical Storm Isaac near St. John. That's going to be likely mostly a fish storm out there. We're not seeing much with that. And even the next tropical wave coming off of Africa, we're not seeing much with that either. You can barely recognize me. You probably noticed when I shaved my my beard and stuff. Probably look a little bit different. And with my haircut, I got a haircut, like a week ago. Yeah, so this is what we're looking at here with the storm surge forecast. Obviously, we could even have up to 3-foot storm surge stretching along the South Carolina coastline all the way down into the coastal Georgia. Including the Savannah area, Jacksonville Beach, we could see up to 3-foot storm surge over there. So that could actually be a problem a little bit over there. If you live down in Naples, Fort Myers, we're still looking at anywhere from 3 to 5-foot storm surge, still pretty significant over there as well. So a lot of areas of storm surge, but we're really concerned about this 10 to 15 foot, 8 to 12 feet, and especially the 15 to 20 foot storm surge up here. I mean, this is going to be nuts, folks. This is going to be crazy. We haven't had this in quite some time in this area. Let me go back over here to, where am I going to? Let's see. Let's look at rainfall amounts with this system, because this system is going to be, again, it's moisture laden. It is obviously a tropical system, so we're going to see a lot of rainfall with this as well. And let's look at that. You can see across the southeast, this is going to be producing a lot of rainfall and on the order, and especially into northwest Florida, but also Georgia there. This is including the Atlanta area. We could certainly be seeing rainfall amounts that could top well over 6 inches here. There could be isolated spots in the tri-state area. That's where we have that high risk for flash flooding by the Weather Prediction Center tonight and then going in through the day tomorrow. There is a likelihood we see over a foot of rain here. Some areas could see up to 15 inches of rain in western North Carolina, western South Carolina, and northeast Georgia. So we're keeping a very close eye on areas, especially like Asheville, North Carolina. That is an area that could be in the bullseye for over a foot of rain as we go between now and Sunday. So that is something to keep close eye on. If you live over in Middle Tennessee, including Nashville, Crossville, Cookeville, Murfreesboro, the Clarksville area in western or northwest Tennessee, we could be seeing rainfall amounts on the order of 2 to 4 inches. And then up into Kentucky, the Lexington, Richmond area, seeing about 2 to 3 inches of rain with this system. And even up into the Richmond, Virginia area as well, we could be seeing around an inch or two of rain. So this is going to be a system that is producing a lot of rainfall. Flash flooding is going to be another aspect of this, and the most widespread impact by the system will be the rainfall and the flash flooding. So that is certainly something we are paying close attention to. And so make sure if you have a flash flood warning that is issued for your area with this system, make sure you seek higher ground. This would be a serious situation with all of this moisture running off. You know, it's the topography here, and we're talking about the Smoky Mountains, the hilly terrain, the forest terrain down here. We have a lot of trees in Georgia, into the Carolinas, eastern Tennessee, a lot of hilly terrain. So a lot of this is going to tend to run off, right? So we're going to see a lot of runoff, and that's what creates those mudslide potential or even the flash flooding potential with this system. So something to keep a very close eye on. And in addition to that, you know, we already showed you the storm surge forecast. Still, you know, 15 to 20 feet in its own right is very significant. And that's just with the storm surge. You add even rainfall on there with some areas, even in northwest Florida, in that storm surge area, 15 to 20 feet, we could be seeing an additional, 3 to 6 plus inches of rain. So we just add that on top of that, and really, actually, your storm surge could be even a little bit higher than that. So definitely keeping a very close eye on northwest Florida. Our prayers go to those folks down there in Florida and Georgia that are going to be impacted by this system here. And again, make sure to like the live stream down below, folks. I appreciate you guys being here this evening, even though it's later in the evening. Appreciate it. Could be historic. Yeah, it's possible. This is by far, I would say, one of the largest footprint of like wind fields with the system. The tropical wind field. Let me go back to that graphic here if I can find it. I got to go back to this here. Look at the wind field. You see this like tan shaded blob down here? That is the tropical storm force wind field with this system, right? That's pretty large. That stretches across most of the southeastern Gulf of Mexico into the northwest Caribbean, covering most of western Cuba, the Grand Cayman Island there, and also the eastern Yucatan still. So in the grand scheme of things, this is actually one of the larger hurricane wind field, like tropical storm force wind fields that we have seen with any of these hurricanes recently. At least I would say over the last 10 to 20 years. I think this is actually, probably top 5, top 10 largest wind fields with this hurricane that we're seeing here. So that is interesting in its own right. So that we're keeping a very close eye on. Again, if you're just joining, this hurricane is right now maximum sustained winds of 85 miles per hour. Movement is north at 9 miles per hour at this current time. That is the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Pamela, Georgia is going to get a lot of rain, and they're going to get a lot of wind, especially the further south you go in Georgia. You're going to get a lot more wind than, say, North Georgia. It's still going to be pretty windy up there in North Georgia. We're likely still going to be expecting some pretty strong winds on the order of between 40 and 65 miles per hour, for example, maybe in the Atlanta area. But I think, honestly, the rainfall is going to tell the big story across Georgia. I think the rainfall and flash flooding is going to be much more widespread and significant, even though it's still going to be quite windy with this system. As it tracks into North Georgia toward Atlanta, it's going to be a tropical storm at that point. Maybe a mid-grade, strong tropical storm still, but we're definitely going to be looking at a lot of rainfall. I mean, like I said, moisture-laden. We're going to be seeing rainfall amounts in the metro area there of Atlanta that could be over 6 inches. And again, that tri-state area I'm very concerned about there in the western Carolinas. We're talking western North Carolina, western South Carolina, also northeastern Georgia. Some of those areas could be approaching 15 inches, believe it or not, of rainfall. And again, the bullseye there, we keep mentioning this city, Asheville, North Carolina, comes to mind there in western North Carolina. It's really close to the western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee state line there. So we're getting a kind of a little bit of a picture of what we could expect with rainfall amounts. Obviously, even further west, if you're watching me from Arkansas, from Jonesboro, or from Little Rock, or even up into Missouri, the Cape Girardeau areas, just south of St. Louis, could still see some rainfall, moisture from the system. this could be actually leading to rainfall amounts there of around 1 to 2 inches too. So that may not cause a lot of flash flooding, but that is certainly quite a bit of moisture in a short amount of time. So be watching out for that this weekend. Might be a little bit more of an unsettled weekend across those areas on Saturday and Sunday. Paul asks, what about Johnson City, Tennessee, in northeast Tennessee? Yeah, I know where that is. I think, honestly, looking at this rainfall map here, and I can kind of zoom it in a little bit, or actually, let me see if I could get the icon model here. It's looking a little bit... there we go. We'll use this. Northeastern Tennessee, it's looking a little bit rainy there, obviously. We're looking at around 6 inches worth of rain for Johnson City. I think that's a good estimate for your area. I would say anywhere from about 4 to 7 inches in the grand scheme of things, but 6 inches looks like a pretty good bet for you in the Johnson City area. The Keaton Beach, Florida region, I can look at that real quick. I'm not really familiar with the Keaton Beach area, though. Although I guess I should be. Yeah, Keaton Beach. Actually, you are probably in the path of the eye wall with this system. I think you guys there could actually be dealing with destructive wind gusts well over 100 miles an hour. We're going to at least see 6 inches of rain likely in that area, possibly a little bit more depending on how strong the eye wall is. We're looking at, Cat 3, Cat 4 type system here. So obviously... destructive winds are going to be an issue with this. We're also going to be seeing some very heavy rainfall, flash flooding, and storm surge. Let's go back to that map. The storm surge is actually going to be quite significant. Keaton Beach, you are facing the potential of up to 20-foot storm surge there in Florida. You're in the bullseye for the storm surge there, so make sure you are well away from the coast if you were talking about Keaton Beach. That is area that could be in the ground zero for this hurricane. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. You're welcome. Let's see here. Will it hit Destin? Yes, Destin, Florida. Definitely going to be seeing some pretty high impacts with this system as well. So let's look at that and give you some information on the Destin area. Yeah, Destin's still going to see some impacts, even though you're in the far northwest Florida panhandle. It looks like your area probably not much with the storm surge, thankfully, so that's some good news. But we could be seeing potentially, an inch of rain is a good bet for you in the Destin area. I think the further west you go from there toward Mobile, you'll probably be going from like an inch in Destin to like almost a trace of rain, barely any rain in the Mobile area as we go further west with this system. And there's going to be a very tight gradient, folks, with where the rainfall is and where the rainfall is not with this system. And you can see the tight gradient here on the maps. Eastern portions of Alabama could be seeing, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of rain on average. You go to western Alabama, west of Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, toward the Mississippi state line, you barely get anything, barely a drop of rain over in those areas. So talk about a little bit of a gradient there. We're talking about flash flooding, potentially pretty significant in eastern Alabama. You go to western Alabama, you're barely seeing a drop of rain with this system. That's just how it goes. You live in northeast Georgia. Do you think we have tornadoes? There's a potential for tornadoes. Let me bring that screen up for you folks here real quick. I have not looked at this recently, but so for tonight, here's the risk area for tonight. We're going to zoom it in down here into Florida. We just have a marginal risk of severe weather. This covers the Western Carolinas, Greensboro, Charlotte, all the way down towards the just outside the Atlanta area, and then most of Florida has that marginal risk of some severe weather tonight. Going into the day tomorrow, it looks like on Thursday the tornado risk is a little bit higher. I would say northeast Georgia, you're very close, okay? So you're just outside the 2% area of tornadoes. There is a 10% chance, though, however, of tornadoes in the Savannah, Georgia area. So keep that in mind. If you're in Savannah, Georgia, and just south and west of Charleston, South Carolina, you have that bullseye of 10% chance of tornadoes And then down into the Jacksonville area, Gainesville, Orlando, Tampa, and Melbourne, Florida, we're looking at 5% chance of tornado. Charleston, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. Up into Columbia, South Carolina, we're looking at a 5% chance. Wilmington, North Carolina, Charlotte, down into areas outside of Atlanta, like we mentioned, and Tallahassee, Miami, and Fort Lauderdale, Daytona Beach, Key West, Fort Myers, and Naples. You guys all have a 2% chance of a tornado there tomorrow. So we're keeping a close eye on that. And then going into the day on Friday, we're probably going to be seeing maybe a 2% chance of tornadoes continuing up there into areas like Norfolk, Raleigh, Greensboro, Roanoke, Virginia, Wilmington again, Charlotte, into the Columbia, Charleston, South Carolina area, Knoxville, Asheville, all those areas there in the Carolinas. We'll probably at least have a 2% chance of a tornado as we go into the day on Friday. So we're keeping an eye on that. Yeah, no problem. No problem. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer your guys' questions. So make sure, again, smash that like button down below. The more people who join, the more people who are informed about the system. We can't stress this enough, folks. I mean, this is a serious system that we're facing as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours, and we need to get this information out to the general public. The more people who are informed, the better, and the more people who can stay safe from the system. So it's very important. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel so you guys stay informed on the latest weather forecasts outside your door, not only for this system, but all across the country here as well. If you're watching me from Texas, again, if you're joining here and just enjoying the entertainment of answering questions, just make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll keep you covered all winter long and all fall and all for the years to come here on this channel for weather. So make sure to do so. Appreciate it. Here, looks like we got some more questions rolling in here. Where would I find that at, Tom? I'm not sure where that would be at. What website is that on? I don't know where to find stuff like that. At least I haven't looked. There's different ones, but I haven't seen. Riverview, Florida. All right, so let's look here at. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to put you guys on the satellite imagery, a little bit more of an animation while I'm looking up some of these questions here, like looking up the city. To get more information. So we're talking about Riverview, Florida here. Believe it or not, I used to live in Naples, Florida when I was little. Probably like 5-10 years old, but I don't remember much of it. I remember going through Hurricane, when I was 4 years old, I believe it was 2004, I went through Hurricane Charlie in the Naples area. Very powerful hurricane, by the way. I'm pretty sure Hurricane Charlie was a high-end Cat 4 upon landfall. That was also a very significant one I went through, but I was younger, so I don't really remember that as much. Riverview. What are we looking at here? So you're basically in the Tampa area. Yeah, you're going to be seeing some pretty heavy rainfall with this system. I would say anywhere from about 2 to 4 inches of rain. The wind, the storm surge is going to be your biggest threat there in that region. So it looks like into your area, just you're inland more. But if you go to the Tampa Bay area, you could be seeing easily 5 to 8 feet 8-foot storm surge in your area. So that is very interesting too. So make sure you are away from the coast and way further inland. Heed the warnings, as we say, from the system. Thank you so much for subscribing, Chubbs. Yeah, we'll keep you updated on the latest with this hurricane and all things weather on this channel. So thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Columbus, Georgia. Yes, we can look at that as well. So the Columbus area here in Georgia, we can give you just the general rundown of the rainfall amounts and stuff like that. Obviously, you're not going to have storm surge in the Columbus area because you're nowhere near the water, but so you're in western Georgia there, very close to the Alabama state line. Basically, you go west like 5 minutes and you'll probably be in Alabama, huh? So we're looking at rainfall. It looks like 3 to 6 inches. Isolated 7-inch totals is a good bet for you. You're in that moderate risk for flash flooding. So you have that moderate risk for flash flooding. Remember, guys, a moderate risk for flash flooding does mean numerous flash floods are likely in that scenario. So we'll keep a very close eye on that. In those areas, we got you guys in mind. Pray for you guys. Hopefully you guys have no damage and come out of this good after the storm. That would be ideal. Jen, thanks for joining. Fairview, Georgia, along Chattanooga line. Chattanooga, we're looking at around 2 to 5 inches of rain. I think this is a good bet for you. Some gusty winds. That'll be moving in here. Let me switch this over into the Chattanooga area. It looks like we're going to start to see rainfall continue through tonight. That will go through much of the day as we go into Thursday and Friday. The heaviest of the rain will be coming in overnight tomorrow night and into Friday morning, with the peak of this system moving in and some gustier winds as well. Wind gusts with this system could actually be approaching 40, 50 miles per hour once it moves up there toward the Chattanooga area. So make sure any loose objects that you have outdoors, that you move them indoors or secure them, because they could be blown around as this system gets closer. Savannah, Georgia, we already answered that a little bit. But we could be seeing up to 3-foot storm surge there in the Savannah area. That is a potential. The tornado threat, you're in the bullseye for that. The tornado potential tomorrow in Savannah, Georgia is at 10%. So that's what we're seeing there. That could go up maybe a little bit more to 15%. That's possible, but right now it looks pretty reasonable. The Storm Prediction Center has a 10% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile point of Savannah, Georgia there. And that even covers the far southern counties there of South Carolina as well, just outside of the Charleston area. So watch out for those tornadoes, water spouts tomorrow as well, in addition to the storm surge and flooding threat. Indiana's not going to see anything other than basically just some very heavy rain. Looks like southern Indiana, we could be picking up anywhere from 1 to 3 inches worth of rain. Other than that, I think most of northern Indiana will be seeing less rain. We can go up here and look at that real quick. Let's see. See, like up here we'll go all the way through Sunday, and you could see here, there will be some rain sneaking into northern and central Indiana, but it looks like the heaviest rains will be across southern Indiana. So Evansville, south of Indianapolis, we'll see some heavier rain. Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati, those areas, we could be talking about 1 to 3 inches of rain. The further north you go into Indiana, so like South Bend, Gary, up into Fort Wayne, we're seeing maybe 1/4 of an inch of rain at worst case scenario. So this is going to definitely drop off the further north you go. If you're watching me from Cook County in Chicago, you're going to be seeing potentially a trace to 1/4 inch of rain with this system. If you're watching me from the Badger State of Wisconsin, forget about it. You're not going to really see any rain for this, so that's some good news. Maybe some cloud cover this weekend, but other than that, we're not going to be seeing much in the way of precipitation in Wisconsin from this system. Branford, Florida. So let's look at that real quick. Again, folks, make sure to like the live stream down below and subscribe to the channel. Believe it or not, folks, we are only 740 people away. 740 people away from 100,000. That would be awesome if we can get very close to that tonight. So thank you guys so much for being here. Let's look here. What we're looking at is Branford, Florida. So let's look at that real quick. Actually never heard of this town, but it is a small town, so I'll give it that. You're just between Gainesville and Tallahassee. Yes, you're seeing some heavy rainfall. Your area looks like a good 3 to 5 inches of rain is a good bet for you. And destructive wind gusts. I mean, we could be seeing wind gusts in your area that could be well over 100 miles per hour as this comes in tomorrow evening. If we turn this over here to this screen, look at as we go into the day there. So here we go. This is 7 a.m. on Thursday. Outer bands already starting to reach your area there in the Branford area. And then we continue to see the very heavy rain bands start to pick up more in the afternoon. This is 4 o'clock. We go into the 10 p.m. time frame. This is when it's starting to make landfall. That's where the heaviest activity will be. The eye wall. Yes, the eye wall could actually go over the Branford area, or at least very close to that, maybe just west of your area too. As we go into Thursday evening, and then that will start to taper off as we go to 7 and 10 a.m. on Friday. All that precipitation and wind will start to move up further north into the Carolinas, North Georgia, and eastern Tennessee after that. So 3 to 5 inches of rain there in Brantford, and also some destructive winds over 100 miles per hour is expected with this system. What side of Tallahassee is the eye going to hit? Tallahassee in general could get hit by the eye wall, the entire city. So you're kind of in the ground zero area, if you will. If you go closer to the coast, which I recommend you not to, if you're close to the coast here in the Big Bend anywhere, you need to be away from the coast as far as you can be, because this is dangerous storm surge, folks. This is life-threatening storm surge. We're literally talking about 10 to 15 foot storm surge, if not up to 20 feet, folks. That is incredibly high water values in the coast. That's incredible. I can count on, probably in my lifetime, I'm turning 24 in November, on November 12th this year, and in the 23 years that I've been alive, I can count on maybe one hand how many times I've seen a value of 20 feet for storm surge in the United States with a landfall. Not very often. Of course, I'm only 23, but I haven't not seen it more than 5 times. I will tell you that. It's pretty rare. Those are some pretty high values, to be honest. Yes, I just answered your question, James. Yes. We were talking about the Tallahassee area. Yes, you're going to see some destructive winds over 100 miles per hour is a near certainty for your area. Even if the eye wall is just literally 20 miles west of you, you're still going to be seeing some very, very high wind gusts there. Very heavy rainfall as well, on the order of about 3 to 5 inches. Yeah, don't worry about it. I live in North Georgia, and I have never been in line of a hurricane. What can I expect? A little nervous. It's all right to be nervous. Hopefully, I can put your mind at ease in telling you what you can expect there in North Georgia. Very heavy rain. Looks like, though, by the time it moves into North Georgia, it will not be a hurricane, okay? So that's some good news, if that's a silver lining for you. It'll still be a tropical storm and then downgrading to a tropical depression by the time it moves into North Georgia. We're likely looking at some very heavy rainfall. That obviously is continuing here if you're seeing some rainfall tonight. Very heavy rain band sets up as we go into tomorrow evening, as it's making landfall down here into the Big Bend area of Florida. It's raining heavily in North Georgia, and then very heavy rainfall throughout the entire day there on at least Friday morning before that moisture moves out Friday afternoon. And when it's all said and done, North Georgia, we could be seeing a bullseye there of about 6 to 12 inches of rain. Atlanta and Northeast. The farther northeast you go in Georgia, into that tri-state area, western North Carolina, western South Carolina, northeast Georgia, we're obviously talking about potentially up to 15 inches of rain. That is some very significant flash flooding here, life-threatening flash flooding that could be unfolding there over the weekend. So that is some crazy stuff that could be happening. Not to scare anybody. That's not what we're here for. We're just here to give you the facts, okay? So that's the fact, is that we could have up to 15 inches of rain in that area. So we're keeping a very, very close eye on that. That is obviously the area where we have that high risk for flash flooding. And high risk for flash flooding don't come every day. That is very rare. Let's look at Tyler's question here. Navarre, Florida. So let's look at that as well. What they can expect for impacts as this system draws closer. The Navarre area, you're in the northwest panhandle. You are going to see a little bit of rain, maybe up to a half an inch of rain. Worst case scenario, you see an inch of rain if this just shifts a little bit further west. If this shifts a little further east, you may not see much of any rain and really any impacts. I don't really expect any storm surge really for your area. I think the real heavy storm surge is well to your east into the Big Bend of Florida. If anything, if this shifts a little further west, I could see maybe 1 to 2 feet of storm surge in your area. Otherwise, if this shifts further east, no storm surge, and rainfall amounts generally most likely a half inch to an inch. If this shifts just a little bit further east, you're barely looking at a trace of rain. So that's the rainfall gradient that we are looking at with this system as into the Navarre, Florida region. So I hope I answered that question there. As far as winds go, we're really not looking at tons of wind for the Navarre area. The strongest winds obviously will be in the eyewall area there into the Big Bend of Florida. But again, can't stress this enough. We're still going to be seeing gusty winds. They're going to be coming out of the north and west on the western side of the hurricane. And that could be, blowing with gusto. They could be gusting over 40 miles an hour at times in some of those areas there near coastal northwest Florida. But other than that, if you're not near the eyewall, you're not going to have 100-mile-per-hour winds. Esther, thanks for joining. Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville's going to see quite a bit of rainfall with this system. We're talking several inches of rain there in Nashville. It really starts in earnest as we go into Friday morning, and we really see the rainfall pick up in intensity throughout the day on Friday. So mid to late morning, really raining hard there in Nashville. That continues into the afternoon before we start to dry out a little bit. And then some moisture starts to pivot its way back into the Nashville area after drying out a little bit Friday night. Pivots back in for an unsettled weekend. It looks like into the weekend Saturday, we could see some moisture, and even into Sunday morning and afternoon as well, although it looks a lot lighter than on Friday. So Friday by far in Nashville looks like the heaviest day for rain. We're starting to see a little bit of dry time Friday night, and then that moisture pivots back from the west and could get some light to moderate rain showers going through the day on Saturday. That's probably a good day to stay indoors in Nashville and watch a movie or something like that, have indoor game night or something. That's definitely going to be a day to stay indoors. It's going to be a really wet one out there. If you do venture outdoors in Nashville, make sure to bring an umbrella. Definitely going to be pretty rainy, and it looks like rainfall amounts there could be averaging around 3 to 6 inches into the Nashville region as we go through the Sunday time frame. How about Wellborn, Florida? So let's look at Wellborn here. We got a question about that. Thanks, folks, for joining. Again, if you are here, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also to like the live stream so we get more people in here to answer as many questions as possible. The Wellborn area, we're expecting very heavy rainfall on the order of about 4 to 7 inches in your area. We are also looking at some very strong winds. Wind gusts with this system could be very significant as they move into that region. Actually, let me look at this one. Is a lot better. Wind gusts in your area could actually be very significant. As this comes ashore, we could actually be seeing wind gusts over 70, 80 miles per hour, if not close to 100 miles per hour, as that eye wall is going to get very close to your area into the Wellborn region. So some very heavy rain, some destructive winds into that region is definitely a likelihood at this point. And that would be mainly peaking Thursday evening as it makes landfall and into the day on Friday morning as well. The Venice, Florida area, we're looking, where's that at here? So you're south of Tampa. So let's go to the storm surge map for you. Into the Venice area, we're looking at around 4 to 7 foot storm surge. So still pretty significant, not as intense as the Big Bend of Florida, but still, we're not downplaying this at all. 4 to 7 foot storm surge over normally dry ground is still pretty significant. As far as rainfall amounts go for your area, it looks like we're going to be seeing rainfall there into the Venice area, averaging around a ½ inch to an inch. So not a lot. The tornado threat will be there a little bit, but I think it'll be much higher further north and east toward Jacksonville than it is down there. So mainly we're just looking at some indirect impacts from the hurricane. The more significant impacts will be further to the north, but still 4 to 7 foot storm surge there on the coast into the Venice area. We're keeping a very close eye on that. Back to the satellite imagery we go to look here at Hurricane Helene. Flagler Beach, Florida. I'm hearing conflicting things. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining. Thanks for asking. You're going to hear that. It's just because, different people see different models. Every model is different. So, where I could be looking at the Icon model, a different meteorologist could be looking at the GFS. Obviously, at the end of the day, there's still going to be a hurricane in Florida regardless. So it's just some models are more intense than others, and that's just what it is. So let's look here at the Flagler Beach, Florida region. So you're on the East Coast there of Florida. You know it's getting late when I say Flagler Beach, Georgia, because that doesn't exist. Okay, so just near the Palm Coast area, we're looking at storm surge in your area that could be maybe up to a foot or so. I think the bigger potential would be for some gusty winds, but it looks like, honestly, you're going to see just a little bit of rain, a little bit of wind, and maybe some storm surge, very minor, maybe a foot of storm surge for your area. Ohio will see some rain. Yes, we're going to see some rain in Ohio from this system, mainly southern Ohio. And if we look back here, the icon model gives southern Ohio around an inch to around 2 inches of rain there in like Cincinnati. Obviously, the further north you go, so like if you're in the Toledo area, Akron, or even Cleveland, forget about it. You're not going to see much rain from the system. But I will assure you, areas that are in that significant drought in southern Ohio will see some moisture. Will it be drought-busting rains? Absolutely not. Not even close. We're just going to see 1 to 2 inches of rain there. If you go up into the Columbus area, we're barely seeing maybe a half inch up there. So again, it's nowhere near any drought-busting rains for Ohio. I wish I had better news for you folks up there, but we're just not seeing that with this system at all. You're in Northwest Ohio. Yeah, Northwest Ohio, it's going to be hard-pressed to see more than, a dampening rain shower in your area. I mean, we're barely going to wet the pavement with this system there in Northwest Ohio. I would be shocked if you saw more than a 1/4 inch of rain with this system between now and early next week, to be quite honest with you. Milledgeville, Georgia. So let's look at that. I know there's a Milledgeville, Georgia out there. I've heard that town before, believe it or not. I believe with severe weather a year or so ago. I thought they had like a tornado or something like that. Let's see here. Yeah, you're in the bullseye there. We could easily be talking around, 6 inches worth of rain into your region there, into the Milledgeville area. So around 6 to 10 inches of rain is a good bet for you. You're in that moderate risk for flash flooding tomorrow. So that is a day to where you need to watch out for those flash flood warnings, seek higher ground. If you start to see a lot of water piling up outdoors, because this is a serious situation. We have a lot of rainfall coming in here, and these are areas that don't normally flood a lot. So, if you get a heavy rain shower in the Smoky Mountains, that's one thing. If you have a heavy rain shower for hours and hours on end, that's another thing. And so that's what we're seeing there into the Smoky Mountains area of Tennessee, but also down into the Milledgeville, Georgia area. Again, pretty heavy rain, 6 to 10 inches, very significant there. Be watching out for the significant impacts there. It looks like the impacts there will start as we go into tomorrow evening, but the real heavy rain band overspreads overnight tomorrow night and into Friday morning. And then by Friday morning around sunrise or thereafter, that moisture will be lifting north towards Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. That's the way it's looking here at this time. Hey, thanks, folks. We're almost to 200 likes. If we could get to 200 likes, 250 likes over the next few minutes, I would really appreciate that. We have around 200 people watching. And again, we are only, let me calculate this here real quick. We're getting very close to 100,000 subscribers here. Let's see. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. Because we are only... Did that wrong. Sorry, I'm looking at two different things at once. I'm looking at the update from the National Hurricane Center and calculating how many subscribers I need to get to 100,000. Let's see here. National Hurricane Center. We're officially 727 people away from 100,000 right now. 727 people. That's it. And then we hit 100,000. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. Smash that subscribe button. Hit the bell icon for notifications on any videos and live streams as well in the future. On your way out if you're leaving early. Port Richey, Florida. Let's look at Port Richey, Florida real quick here. Yeah, you're just north and west of Tampa there. Very heavy rain is going to be a problem for that region too. We're going to easily be seeing, I would say, about 3 to 5 inches of rain at the very least, maybe isolated 6-inch totals. looks like you're into, I would say, that 8 to 12 foot storm surge range on the coast there. So Port Richey, yes, you're looking at around 8 to 12 foot storm surge for your area. So very significant storm surge. That's very dangerous there on the coast for Port Richey, Florida. Let's look here at Thomaston, Georgia. Yeah, Thomaston, Georgia. We're looking at some very heavy rain. 6 to 12 inches of rain is on the way there for Thomaston, Georgia. So if you live in Thomaston, Georgia, yes, you have 6 to 12 inches of rain. The rain will begin in that region. Again, we're looking at rainfall starting Thursday afternoon. If not, it might actually have started already, but the real heavy stuff comes Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, continues into Friday morning, and then by Friday afternoon starting to dry out. But that's not before producing 6 to 12 inches of rainfall there in the Thomaston, Georgia area. So you are also in that moderate risk for flash flooding. Would not be surprised, though, by morning if the Weather Prediction Center expands that high risk area for flash flooding a little bit further off to the south and west. Into your area. So that is something to keep in mind as we go into your Thursday and Friday time frame. Sylvester, Georgia, I would imagine the same thing. We're probably seeing several inches of rain there too. Yep, same thing. So, Sylvester, Georgia, we're looking at rainfall amounts of around 6 to 10 inches there. So 6 to 10 inches of rain. It looks like the very windy conditions will be there too, probably seeing wind gusts up to at least 70, 80 miles an hour as this system moves in. So 70, probably 80 mile an hour winds and about 6 to 10 inches worth of rain for your area there in Sylvester, Georgia. Yeah, I see a question about Indianapolis on here. Indianapolis is going to see not that much rain compared to like Georgia. The Indianapolis area going all the way through Monday morning. We're going to go all the way to Monday morning, daybreak. We're looking at around a ½ inch to an inch and a half at worst case scenario, an inch and a half of rain from the system. So a good soaking there. Nothing out of the ordinary there for Indianapolis. Not really seeing any gusty winds with this either. But some rain bands moving in as we go into Friday and especially into Saturday there. And that could be as much as 2.5 inches of rain at that point. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. If you have any weekend plans, make sure to bring an umbrella with you. If you have any errands or weekend plans, activities outdoors there in Indianapolis, could get a little wet there on Saturday with some rainfall moving in there. Excuse me. All right. My grandpa's in Greenville, South Carolina, and can't leave. He's bedridden. I'm worried sick. The Greenville area. Well, let's look at the impacts for that area real quick. You said Greenville, South Carolina? Okay. Yeah, that's one of the areas that are going to see probably the bullseye for heavy rainfall. We're looking at rainfall there that could be up to 15 inches at most. At worst case scenario, we could be seeing up to 15 inches of rain in that region. That's actually the region that's in the ground zero for that high risk for flash flooding. Yeah, up to 15 inches of rain there, unfortunately, into the Greenville, South Carolina area, and some very strong winds that could be around 40 to 60 miles per hour, too, as this makes landfall and moves into Georgia. And then over into South Carolina, too. Douglasville, Georgia. Okay. There's a lot of Douglasvilles out there. I just noticed that. All right. Yep, just outside Atlanta. You're looking at 6 to 12 inches of rain in Douglasville. And again, same thing, 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts in your area. So tropical storm force winds and those 6 to 12 inch rainfall totals for your area. And most of the rain will be falling Thursday night, Friday, and Friday night. So around a 24-hour span of about 6 to 12 inches of rain, which would equate to roughly, 1 to 2 inches per hour rain rates at least in some of those areas. Yeah, I'll be praying for you guys too, Callie. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Hopefully everything turns out well there and no impacts. Rhonda Floyd, how about Wagner, South Carolina? You're looking at around 3 to 6 inches of rain, and same thing, about 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts as this comes in. So tropical storm force winds and around 3 to 6 inches worth of rain there in the Wagner, South Carolina area with this system. All right, folks, I'm getting pretty tired. I have a long day tomorrow. Got to put potentially another video together and or a live stream, and we got a long day tomorrow. Tomorrow is the landfall day, so I will be covering information on Twitter tomorrow, so even if I'm not doing a video or a live stream throughout the entirety of the day, at least I will be doing updates on Twitter. So if you want to follow me there on my Twitter or X page at hweather420, it's in the description down below here. If you want to email me, if you have any additional questions, you can email me at weatheronthego20@yahoo.com. That is also in the description down below. Make sure to copy and paste that. That is my email, weatheronthego20@yahoo.com. If you have any additional questions after the live stream, I will also be able to answer those as well. But I need to get some rest. Landfall's tomorrow, and we have a lot more weather to talk about even besides Hurricane Helene coming up. The hurricane season by no means is not over yet. And we got fall that just started, so pretty soon it will be snowing, and we'll be talking about snowstorms and all that sort of stuff as we go into the winter. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe from Hurricane Helene, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their night. I'll be praying for each and every one of you, so you guys hopefully get out of this storm unscathed. Hopefully everybody stays safe out there. And again, I'll be praying for each and every one of you out there as well. So thanks for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Stay great, everybody, and I will see you in the next one. Good night, everybody.